especially in Middle Eastern countries. In the Middle East, there are a few extra problems you have to worry about. You need to know first whether your client is Jewish or Muslim, as this can determine whether or not you can serve crab cakes or wine at your wedding reception. But also, you need to make sure that your wedding party is not mistaken for a military convoy and subjected to a drone strike. That is why all wedding planners in the Middle East need to invest in a drone detecting radar, a radar that will detect drones overhead for a 50-mile radius, giving you plenty of time to scatter before you come in range. This device would have been particularly useful with a wedding party on December 12, 2013, when the wedding party was targeted and attacked by a U.S. drone strike, killing 12 and injuring 14, including the bride. Before I continue, it's important for us to define what actually is a drone, because drone can mean many things. Anything from one of these, which most of you have probably seen or owned at some point, to any one of these four. The ones on the left are ground or terrestrial drones, while the ones on the right are UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles. It is these that I want to focus on today, in particular the one in the top right-hand corner, the Predator drone. The Predator drone is the most commonly used drone in the Middle East. It fires precision Hellfire missiles that are capable of attacking a target the size of a small car from several miles in the sky. They have been used by both parties, President Barack Obama and President Bush, in an unusual example of bipartisan support. But why are drones so important? The issue is that, as you can see from this slide, the white lines coming down from the sky show the individual drone strikes over those respective years. As you can see, drones are a reality that have increased since 2008. And since the U.S. government is spending more money now on developing drones and building new drones than even they are towards the Air Force budget of building new planes, it is obvious that drones are a reality that is not going away anytime soon. So it is important for us to define now whether these drones are helping or hurting American international policy. After my research, I have concluded that targeted drone strikes in the Middle East need to be stopped for a variety of reasons. First, drone strikes are just not as effective as they are said to be. Yes, it is true that drones are some of the most accurate weapons in the U.S. military to date. However, only 2% of deaths by drone strike are high-level terrorist targets. These targets should be the people we focus on, not just the smallest percentage, as killing a low-level terrorist does nothing. And there's always someone to replace them. A high-level terrorist target is someone the likes of Osama bin Laden, or someone just below his level, who have planned terrorist attacks. We know who they are, and we know what they've done. These are the people who make a difference when they're killed. The low-level targets, like I said, are easily replaceable. However, there's another issue with drones. If you look back at this slide, the bar at the top of the screen shows the amount of drone deaths in Pakistan by the type of target. The red areas show the amount of civilian deaths, which accounts to about 25% of deaths in Pakistan. Across the Middle East, civilians total 20 to 30% of the total deaths by drone strikes. Now, this number is not unusually high, given that in a normal ground offensive, 30 to 35% might be the norm. However, given the accuracy of a drone, this number should be unacceptable. This only happens when a civilian is incorrectly targeted, or the drone operator does not wait until his intended target is out of range of civilians. However, I also want to focus on this gray bar for a little bit. It represents 75% of deaths by drones in Pakistan, and is the legal gray area defined by the CIA. It is defined as any man in a terrorist-occupied region who is indicated to be a terrorist by an informant on the ground and does not directly prove his innocence while under direct CIA surveillance. What this definition means is that if an informant on the ground, who is not American but is a Middle Easterner, tells the CIA that a man is a terrorist, CIA needs no further confirmation to attack that and kill that man. We cannot know whether these people are terrorists or civilians. We assume they're terrorists. But the fact that the CIA is comfortable with killing over 2,000 people in just one country alone without having any knowledge of their guilt is astounding. Secondly, drones create more terrorists than they prevent. On March 17, 2011, a drone strike hit and killed 42 people in a tribal meeting. This tribal meeting was conducted by elders of surrounding villages. It was pre-confirmed by the Pakistani government. The Pakistani government knew who they were, knew why they were meeting, and knew same way. They met in an open area, not in a cave or in some building like a terrorist target mine. However, the United States drone program sent in 2 Hellfire missiles to kill 42 and injure countless others. All these men were civilians, tribal elders, leaders in their community. You cannot imagine the outrage that the communities felt after losing 42 of their most valuable members. Also, there's the aforementioned wedding strike, killing 12 and injuring 14. Now, while comparatively this is a much smaller number than the one from 2011, because this was a wedding turned into a funeral, the American media picked up on this strike in a huge way. In fact, this strike was so popularized by the American media that President Obama has issued a formal investigation as to the cause of the misfire. Robert Renier, the head of CIA Counterterrorism Office from 2004 to 2006, said, "We have gone a long way down the road of creating a situation where we are creating more enemies than we are removing from the battlefield." What he's trying to say is by killing these large numbers of civilians, we are angering an entire generation of Middle Easterners. The young generation, high school age to college age people, are becoming infuriated with the American drone program. Those who were originally neutral or amiable towards America have become antagonistic. This is indicated by the fact that since 2008, when the U.S. drone program saw a large increase in the number of attacks, Al-Qaeda increased by 2 to 3% in different countries, going from a few hundred members to thousands of members and controlling large regions of territory. This is obviously related to the increase in drone strikes, as it happened at the exact same time. Finally, drones harm America's international reputation. America has become known as the global police force. Whenever there's a problem in the world, America's the one to go in and try and fix it. But recently, we've become sloppy. With the drone program, America is seeming to stop care about who they killed and making sure to get the right person, the person who's guilty. With that 75% of people we don't know who they're guilty, this shows that clearly. And it's angering the rest of the world. As you can see from this slide, the blue areas show the percentage of those who disapprove of drone strikes across the world, while the yellow area shows those who approve. The blue area is much larger and places even outside the Middle East. America's international policy is bringing on a lot of heat to America. In fact, as of last month, the European Union voted unanimously to propose a ban on targeted drone strikes in the Middle East. They have been encouraged to stop sharing information with America or letting us use their air bases. They cite the reasons as an excessive amount of civilian casualties and use outside of declared war zones. Also, they voted 534 to 49 in favor of proposing a ban on American drone strikes. Now, while a ban on American drone strikes by the European Union might technically accomplish little, as we are obviously not a part of the EU, it definitely shows that American international policy is looked upon widely as a negative thing for the rest of the world. In conclusion, targeted drone strikes in the Middle East need to be stopped because they're not effective, they're creating more enemies than they're removing, and they're harming our international policy. But drones do not need to be done away with altogether. They're the culmination of military aircraft technology. They just need to be put to better use. They need to be repurposed, however. The control of the drone program needs to be taken from the CIA and given to the American military, either the Army or the Air Force. This would require that the U.S. military publish a list of prerequisites and requirements for who is eligible for a drone strike, when, and where. Also, this should include that the American drone program should only be used during in war zones, during wartime, and during an open ground offensive. This solves two problems with drones. First, it eliminates any extra civilian casualties, as any civilian casualty occurred with a drone strike during an open ground offensive would have most likely occurred anyways, as the civilian was already in the way of the conflict. But it also solves another problem. A drone is a much more effective weapon at close air support than both the helicopter and the jet aircraft, which it will be replacing. Wedding planners already have a lot on their shoulders. Let's give them one less thing to think about, and we'll save some lives in the process.
Very good.
would say that a lot of it is based on drone strikes, but it also could be based on the fact that we're in their countries and they don't want us there. Especially with the rest of Europe, when we go into countries outside of war zones without declaring war, that does not reflect favorably on American international policy, and I think that definitely plays a role in our diminishing reputation.
Okay, for a matter of clarification, maybe you could resolve a bit of a quandary that I'm in. I thought I heard you say at the beginning that we should end drone strikes, and then toward the end, I thought I heard you say that drone strikes are all right, they should just be carefully monitored. Did I hear you say both of those things?
At the beginning, I'm arguing against targeted drone strikes in the Middle East. Basically, this is defined as an assassination with a drone strike, where we find a person we think is a terrorist target, send in the drone, and attack him with sending in a missile. At the end, what I'm arguing for is use of drones during wartime in war zones. The targeted drone strikes are outside of war zones. They're like assassinations, like I said, but at the end, I say that we should use them during war zones to assist with an open ground offensive that we're engaged in.
And did I hear you say also that drone detection devices should be available to certain civilians?
Yes, for wedding planners who are interested in flying their trade in the Middle East.
And which we could be sure terrorists would not get their hands on.
Hopefully they will stay out of harm's way.
So my